the abuse of the H-1B program happens across board. It's not just done by Desi consultancies. It's also done by Indian outsourcing giants. It's also done by, especially by corporate America, like big tech giants, like the biggest of like employers, companies, including universities and all of that. But they have created this perception, and I quote this researcher, Professor Norman Matloff, who teaches at the University of California, Davis, of this simplistic binary of Intel's good, Infosys is bad. So under that, essentially, it's like, hey guys, H1B is abused, H1B is compromised, and all of that, but they are the bad guys. Desi consultancies people, or like the Indian outsourcing giants, are the bad guys. The Fortune 500 firms, the big tech giants, they're the responsible users of the guest worker program, which is absolutely nonsensical. So, and that's what like the Trump administration is actually trying to do. Cognizant, an Indian outsourcing giant. You talk about like it has given a list of all the companies as well. All of them Desi consultancies. They have not spoken a peep about the big tech giants, the big corporations. While it's a fact that in 2020 Facebook settled with the Department of Labor and the Department of Justice for discriminating against Americans and trying to game the green card program. In 2023, Apple did. In 2007, Oracle was involved in a very embarrassing case.
Hi and welcome. About a week ago, the United States government launched a probe into about 30 internet technology companies, and one of them was named Cognizant, which is a giant, and they are investigating fraud with H-1B visas. This is an issue which has been simmering for some time, and Tanul Thakur, journalist and author who is with us today, was extremely prescient about this, and 3 months before the government could move, he published a book titled Wild Wild East. It's published by Context Books in Bangalore, India. And in it, he described the extent and the possibilities of visa fraud, the many manners and the many kinds of visa fraud which take place. So today we have Tanul with us today. Welcome. And I'd like to start off with perhaps a very current subject, which is the cockroach Janata Party protest, which is happening in your city or in Delhi. And yesterday it featured a crackdown by government, which is unbelievable in the extent of violence that it seemed to sanction. And what I found interesting was that the very people who seek education and some work experience in the United States, those very people were on the streets here. These are aspirational people. They want a good education, and they think it's the ticket to a good life. And if they can't get it at home, they'll get it overseas. And in the meantime, the entire education system has collapsed into what looks like one gigantic scam, with hundreds of question papers, test papers for admission to elite institutions being leaked, and obviously giving preference to people who are paying for these papers, and undermining the integrity of these examinations and the degrees that they lead to. In fact, it's so bad that about I think 3 or 4 countries have introduced special screening of Indian students applying to campuses in those countries, the top ones being the UK, USA, and Australia. So, Tanul, you speak of, right in the beginning of your book, you speak of a phenomenon called a Desi consultancy. And what you write there is very depressing or quite horrifying, actually, depending on your temperament. Can you tell us how this works?
Yeah, absolutely.
How are people literally trafficked overseas?
Yeah. So Desi Consultancy is essentially an IT body shop, or one can think of it as they are staffing firms or rent a programmer firms. They don't usually have any products. They are essentially in the business of shopping or literally shipping bodies. So the way Desi Consultancies function is if a DC consultancy hires you and it gives you an H-1B visa, you would be lumped in something what is colloquially called a guest house with like 8 to 10 H-1B aspirants. It's really squalid, dirty. I mean, this is all in the US, but the living conditions really mirror, Dubai, or, one of the protagonists calls it the Dubai model. And then, they make force actually. Mostly Indian H-1B workers, which is to say techies, fake their resumes with 7 to 8 years of experience, especially current recent graduates. I mean, as you very fittingly said at the start of, in your introduction, that some of the very people who are at the epicenter of the student protest right now, rippling across the country, right? So, I mean, these are the kinds of people who have opened themselves or have been forced to open themselves to vulnerability and abuse because, well, the Indian government or Indian institutions have, again, as you said, and as we all know, have really failed themselves and failed our kids. So then, after fake resumes, you are basically told to, get yourself a job through a proxy interview, wherein somebody else gives an interview on your behalf. You put the phone on call forward 15 minutes before the interview. Somebody else gives it really sounds like a Hindi film, but it really happens. And then you get a job. Now, in many cases, because you are a young college graduate, you may not even have studied computer engineering. You may have just studied, say, mechanical or civil or something other, and you're working for a Fortune 500 company as a Java or a SAP specialist with 8 years of experience, and you don't know anything. So there is a jugaad, So it's something called on the job support. A Desi consultancy essentially helps you. It ties you up with another employee, another consultant, or you can literally outsource your job to somebody in India for, say, $400 or $500 per month. And then there is rampant exploitation in this industry, in the ambit of Desi consultancy. There is rampant wage theft. There is, you have to grovel for your basic rights. There is legal intimidation. There's deputation threats. All sorts of things. So it functions almost as I call it a cult. It functions also as a cartel because there are thousands of these consultancies in the US. And a distressing and a fascinating fact about it, something I've said earlier as well, that it almost feels like 1757 has returned, right? Which essentially means that Indians have been enslaved by a company once more. The only subversive modern subversion is that they have been enslaved by fellow Indians in a foreign land. So it's a weird kind of a situation where, the psychological abuse is actually quite insane. You're literally living a double life, not just at the client side, but also, say, with respect to your parents. I mean, you're telling them something else. You are somebody else. You're navigating exploitation daily. You're navigating thievery, deception daily. As you said, I was very saddened while reporting on the book because virtually nothing really correct or right, happens. So yeah.
How is it that the actual employer doesn't understand what's going on?
Yeah, so that's the thing, right? So it's before that, I'll just very briefly explain how the hiring chain happens. So, say, there's a client, which is to say, the company where the H-1B workers work, right? So it could be a Google, Microsoft, whatever. Then if they don't have if they want, say, a specialized techie or like a group of techies, they don't hire on their own. They essentially, ask, say, an Indian outsourcing giant or some other outsourcing behemoth for, workers. They are called prime vendor. If they have workers, they supply. If not, they usually ask another Desi consultancy, which asks another Desi consultancy. Then there is an employer who's also a Desi consultancy. So there's essentially a big chain. Sorry.
So is it structured like a project, or is it like formal employment?
Yes, you are correct. Actually, the former. It's like a project. So essentially, think of it as short-term projects where it could be from, say, 3 months to a year or 2 years or things like that. Now, so just take a look at this chain, right? I mean, essentially, as opposed to a union of workers, what we have in the IT consulting world is a union of companies. So, like, there's this one bechara worker surrounded by like 5 to 6 companies, and now because also literally you are literally disembodied from, I mean, your actual work, in the sense that like a client, the client is separated from the worker by a maze of intermediaries, and so client really doesn't care actually. Even if they find out, the chances are probably high. Sometimes a lot of H&B workers do get have got caught for like fake resumes and all of that, many on the first day, many in the first week, stuff like that. But I think I mentioned a line in my book, I think so, definitely, it was a feeling that I had while working on the book, that many managers would escalate the issue and all of that, or sometimes most of them would, sorry, because I mean, this is American neoliberalism at its best or at its worst, right? Like, as long as the work gets done, I mean, that is like, as long as the bottom line is being satiated, they don't really care. And that's why it's one of the reasons why the H-1B scam has, in this avatar actually, and in different others as well, but definitely in the realm of the Desi consultancy, sorry, it's gone on for like 25, 30, 35 years, because workers are literally cog in the wheels. And in this case, like, they are not even real cogs, they're cogs with like 7 years of fake experience, right? So that's why actually it's this massive indifference, it's this massive entitlement of corporate America for like I mean, I like to say that this is the original return to the original sin of corporate America, that like, their entitlement to like cheap and unfree labor. And of course, I mean, DC consultancy definitely are the engine, and they also benefit, and they are the this thing. But definitely the big firms, their indifference, I mean, as what your question was, or the fact that maybe their perceived negligence, I mean, that's the point actually. It's they don't care basically.
From what you're saying, it appears to me that every stakeholder in this system is a beneficiary, with the possible exception of the worker.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So,
And yeah, sorry, go on, yeah, please.
no, what were you saying? Let's finish that.
No. I didn't have a point per se. I was just saying that, yeah, I mean, and even if you see like the narrative of the, I mean, this is where I can get a bit sanctimonious, and I don't want to be that. But like, if you just see the narrative of like reporting, or like the narrative of like the coverage of the H-1B program or the issue, even we are like papers, research papers, or work done by think tanks, or even work done by American mainstream media and all of that, a lot of them, talk about everything or talk to everything except the workers themselves. And I'm like, I mean, when you're talking about the abuse of H-1B, and also because it is such a, at least in the Desi consultancy realm, it's such a, how do I put it? It's such a geographically and culturally coded specific thing, that like a lot of Americans, I mean, first of all, I mean, a lot of them won't even know what Desi is, right? Like, it's kind of like, I've called it elsewhere like the Indian diaspora's best kept secret. So it has not been able to come out. So they are doing all kinds of analysis, and they're kinds of doing all kinds of, I mean, reportage to kind of say that the H-1B program is fine. But to which I've always thought, what, I have a radical idea, at least for American mainstream media. Why don't you ask the H-1B workers themselves? And that disconnect actually with, like, of course, a lot of H-1B workers don't talk about, because they fear deportation, they fear backlash, retaliation, and all of that. But it's truly the voice of the exploited H-1B workers have not been able to come out for so long, which is that people have had like a very different, distorted view of the H-1B program. That's all I wanted to say.
So, I mean, it reminds me of, I don't know if you've read a book called Goat Days by the.
Oh, yeah. Of course, no. I have not read it, but yeah. That's a perfect, near perfect
This seems to
analogy.
be, I mean, in that case, it's an unskilled worker, totally powerless, and he's in
Yeah.
the desert with some goats. But this situation is just higher up the social and technological scale, but structurally it seems to be the same.
Yeah, absolutely. And also like, it just feels so like you feel such a big disconnect, because even a lot of people who talk about, like, say, the stories of immigrants, or story of, say guest workers or foreigners in the US, or say in India, we kind of think of it like it's filtered through a very aestheticized lens, or a very aesthetic lens, which I quite like as well. I mean, so you can think of, like, say, despair or dislocation or questions of identity, say in Chopal Lairi's books, or, like, a certain kind of a diasporic movie. And so it's there is and I quite like them myself, but here, I mean, the lights really go off, and it's such a dog eat dog world, where there are notions of caste, there are notions of hierarchy, there are notions of, it's not very simple that, like, Americans are just being Indians are just being gamed by America, or by the way H-1B has actually become very pro business. But it's also, I mean, the kind of psychological devastation that happens. It really feels like, as you said, right? I mean, the parallels are very stark, and it kind of, like, if you have to translate it into a movie, the texture of it would be very grainy, and it would be almost like a violent kind of a movie with, like, no pretense to the first world propriety, or, like, anything else, I would say.
Yeah. And now it's become a political issue, which is why there's a probe. And the political issue
Yeah.
is because Americans are being denied those jobs. That perception is there. Now, how does the payment system work? The idea of an H-1B visa originally was that you import talent which you don't have and pay it an American living wage. So, in what ways has it gone off the tracks?
Yeah, this is again, like, a perfect question, because this really gets to the heart of the matter, right? I mean, because if there is exploitation, I mean, as I spoke about, like, the psychological aspect, but even, like, side by side to it, or in superseding that, I would say, is the brute economic exploitation. So, I mean, if so there are two parts to it. I'll first talk about this chain, which I like to call the indirect H-1B route, which has Desi Consultancies, prime vendor, and, client. So there, as you can see, I mean, it's client, prime vendor, bunch of companies, then employer, then the worker. So I'll just quote, like, a 2011 rate, but the rates have been proportional in terms of, like, so if a client would pay something like, say, $120 per hour for a techie with, say, 6 years of experience in a particular technology, the amount, say, the prime vendor would take a cut, like, other middle vendors would take a cut, and employer take a cut, and finally the H-1B worker would get around, say, $25 an hour. So that's one. Yeah. It's insane, and this is in a good case scenario. So that's one. Second is, there is wage theft. The H-1B worker is nearly never shown the purchasing order, like, the amount that his or her employer is getting. Sometimes that purchase order is photoshopped, because, like, a lot of these folks, they work on a percentage model, say 70 to 30, or 75 to 25, or, stuff like that, 80-20, which means, of course, that if a company gets, like, $100, it would give $70 to an H-1B, and pocket 30 if it's a 70-30 thing. So then, I mean, these folks, they edit Photoshop purchase orders to kind of, like, show a different rate. And one of the biggest, actually, which is like a flagrant violation of the H-1B program, which is something called, if you don't have a project, then in the parlance of the IT company, you are said to be on bench. Now, of course, but the US government has made it very clear, has mandated employers to pay employees on bench on all the time, so that, it doesn't become like a literal indentured servitude. And parallelly, American workers are also not undercut, but they are not paid. Almost nearly no DC consultancy pays H-1B workers on bench. That's one. Not just that, they have to pay their employers taxes on the bench period, because, they have to keep running the payroll, because it has to be it has to comply with the rules of the H-1B program. So it's this insane kind of a scenario where, like, if you don't have a project, month by month, you are literally paying your company to keep your job. And so these are some of the mechanisms by which, the wages of H-1B workers are absolutely, like, brutalized to a level that's a mere pittance. And because this is such an informal underground economy. So like say your employer may be saying that I am paying you $45 per hour, but it could actually be paying you $25, $20, $15. Those kinds of amounts can't even like get recorded or don't even come into consideration when say think tanks or university professors and these folks are doing research, say, like trying to, because I mean, how do you catalog, tabulate, or how do I call it? What do I quantify a literal wild east? There's kuch bhi ho raha hai, like anything is happening. That sort of an industry. So and then I mean, a lot of these folks they get into this whole thing of debt bondage. You take $2,000, $4,000, whatever from your employer, then you try to pay it back, but new debts keep recurring. So it's a really harrowing scenario actually. And also, sorry, I'll finish it with this, but there's more to it. But I mean, I think the listeners would have gotten it. Is also the fact that people have to buy their H-1B and green card, which is again illegal. Like according to 2015 rates, an H-1B came at around like say $8,000. A green card came out to be around $25,000. Usually a company is supposed to hire an attorney or an immigration law firm, which of course does these applications. But in this, Desi consultancies barely do, because they are essentially trying to, monetize the desperation and vulnerabilities of our young kids, basically, among other professionals as well, but kids as well, especially. Yeah.
It strikes me that this is the system is taking advantage of a failure of globalization. Globalization was supposed to provide ensure frictionless crossing of borders for everything at all. But in practice, it turned out to be, because of political reasons, capital flows, labor does not, and so it goes underground. It's like prohibition leading to bootlegging, something like that. So is there a way for American law to recognize this and bring it out into the open, into the legal space?
Absolutely. Actually, I mean, again, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. It is absolutely the failure of globalization. Something I didn't spell it out in the book, but I definitely felt very strongly about. It's also about like the diktats or the tyranny of American neoliberalism itself, wherein corporations are being prioritized at literally every turn, and workers are being brutalized. So yeah, I mean, there are quite a few things actually. So and what's also interesting about the H-1B, I feel that there is a scam within a scam, as I like to call it. So I mean, what you just spoke about at the start, right? That there's an investigation into 30 companies, Cognizant was named in it, and all of that, and so all sorts of things are happening, right? Now, what my investigation and research has revealed, that the abuse of the H-1B program happens across board. It's not just done by Desi consultancies. It's also done by Indian outsourcing giants. It's also done by, especially by corporate America, like big tech giants, like the biggest of like employers, companies, including universities and all of that. But they have created this perception, and I quote this researcher, Professor Norman Matloff, who teaches at the University of California, Davis, of this simplistic binary of Intel's good, Infosys is bad. So under that, essentially, it's like, hey guys, H-1B is abused, H-1B is compromised, and all of that, but they are the bad guys. Desi consultancies people, or like the Indian outsourcing giants, are the bad guys. The Fortune 500 firms, the big tech giants, they're the responsible users of the guest worker program, which is absolutely nonsensical. So, and that's what like the Trump administration is actually trying to do. Cognizant, an Indian outsourcing giant. You talk about like it has given a list of all the companies as well. All of them Desi consultancies. They have not spoken a peep about like the big tech giants, the big corporations. While it's a fact that in 2020 Facebook settled with the Department of Labor and the Department of Justice for discriminating against Americans and like trying to game the green card program. In 2023, Apple did. In 2007, Oracle was involved in a very embarrassing case. So now, and that is the case. That's why, because the very definition of the prevailing wage is very rigged. It gets big, but I'll just say that there are a few things that it's rigged in such a way that corporations can underpay H-1B workers while fully complying with the law. So essentially, you have then this system. So yeah, I mean, because there are things such as it allows corporations to, like the Department of Labor's labor condition application, it allows corporations to set wages, so they can use any amount of like private or government wage service and choose the cheapest option. Then you have this thing that the amount that you have to pay to a worker is not based on the worker but on the job, so job position or description. So you can like get a highly skilled worker, advertise your job as like a low skilled, and save like a hefty a premium amount. It doesn't factor hot skills, for instance, which again has a premium in the market and things like that. So like I just said this because it's one of my thing too, how you can reform the H-1B program. So the first is you need to remove the gaping loopholes in the way that like corporations are using to game the H-1B. Second, I think what you need to do is what Department of Labor needs to do is it needs to reform the prevailing wage levels. So right now the prevailing wage levels are 4-tiered. It's 4-tiered. 17th level 1 corresponds to the 17th percentile of the wages of an occupation in a particular area. Level 2 is 34th percentile, 3 is 50th, and 4th is 67th percentile. Now the thing is that one level corporations are saying that America has a huge time crisis that can only be satiated by the best and the brightest, that should be. But you're not paying the best and the brightest salaries. Like level 1 and level 2 are massively below the median salary as well. Like in 2020, an economic policy study, EPA Policy Institute study found out that 60% of labor condition applications were certified much below the local median salaries. So it must reform the prevailing wage levels. Right now, the government, DOL, Department of Labor, has proposed. It has said that the new ones would be 34th percentile, 52nd, 70th, and 88th. That's still like a good start, but I still feel level 1 is slightly low. Third, I would like to think is H-1B workers must own their visas. Right now, the employers own visa, the visa of the H-1B workers. Now that creates like a big problem. Workers can't really complain. Workers can't really protest unfair conditions, like low wages, things like that. It becomes, they get entrapped. So structural entrapment by then becomes inherent, like becomes the definitional value of the H-1B program, because then you're tied to a long green card queue which goes on for 15, 20, sometimes even longer. So that's that. I think OPT program, optional practical training program, which allows STEM workers to like stay in the country for 2 more years, it must be rolled back to 12 months. It may not make me a very big fan among Indian the diasporic community, but I think it's really important for the American STEM market as a whole, for Americans as well, because right now we also need to understand it's not just H-1B, it's F1 workers. According to a study in 2024, there were 418,000 H-1B workers. H4 workers, 155k. Then there are L1 workers. In 2022, 303k, which had come down due to pandemic, because in 2019, I think it was 705k. Now, America's STEM labor market can't absorb so many people with Americans as well, with the onslaught of AI as well. I mean, so, it must be, or should be rolled back, the OPT to like 12 months. There also like something that you asked, I think it circles back to a very nice point that you had raised, that, in this chain, so you said that clients are so removed, not verbatim, but in a sense that so removed from the H-1B worker. So when you are certifying, when an employer is certifying that, and right now that is a condition that the recruitment of an H-1B worker wouldn't adversely affect American workers, even clients need to certify that on their H1 there should be some kind of mechanism, because right now there's absolutely no accountability. Right now it's like, a big company can hire through like a really shady company and be like, okay, we don't care, yeah, that's your problem, that's your business. that should go away. And finally, I would think that, just like the green card thing, there should be a proper labor test, by a compulsory labor test by employers to see that they are not displacing any qualified Americans before hiring like an H-1B worker. Right now, I mean, it's very like there is a threshold figure of $60,000. Like if you pay a salary, like those attestations would be removed. But that's a 1998 salary. Even in those days, 60,000 wasn't a big amount. But yeah, so like if there are 5-6 things that this government does, so like instead of pulling off these stunts, right, like these political stunts that Trump 2.0 or Trump 1.0 or any Trump is very like very comfortable or very happy doing trigger happy using brawn not brain, it wouldn't have to do this tamasha of like, oh, we are investigating X companies, oh, we are investigating Y number of companies. Man, you change the law that is being used to, so something again I keep saying that the biggest difference between Desi consultancies and big tech giants or say corporate America is that Desi consultancies, they abuse the law, corporate America changed the law. It's that kind of just tells you a lot about how modern corporations and lobbying and policy making works. So I would say these 4-5 things would be very beneficial. I mean, they would be inundated with a lot of lawsuits. Big tech giants and all of these folks, they'll lose their minds if there's a talk of like changing any thing about prevailing wage levels, because you can keep investigating anything, but if you don't change what's inherently rotten in the system, I think it would just be a sporadic kind of thing, I would say.
So, Tanul, to circle back, I'd like to revisit a couple of points that we had spoken about earlier. So, I'm seeing that the protest which is going on in Delhi and many other cities right now, it involves students rising against a broken education system, which does not provide, certification with any integrity, and does not allow merit to find its place. And from what you have described in your book, the same situation applies to workers. Like over here, there's an open revolt. There's protest on the streets because the institutions which are supposed to hear these people, the students, which is the judiciary, the legislatures, and the media, all have collapsed, and they failed to do their duty. So there's no one to speak to. And similarly, I find in the situation that you describe in your book, the worker who benefits least from this system, from what I can see, also has no option of expressing himself or herself or to speak of their problems. So, along with the solutions that you have spoken about, that the administration could do and legal change could achieve, I would include this. I mean, listen to the worker.
Yeah.
From what you have said in the course of this interview, is just missing from the discourse.
So, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I agree with everything that you have said, right? And I'll just tackle the first part, which is, I mean, while I was working on the book, and it took a very long time, 8 to 9 years, I often thought about it that, why does this happen? Say Desi consultancies, so much rampant exploitation and all of that.
I had a
And I
question
can.
related to that, actually. Sorry to interrupt. I had a question
No, no,
related.
no. Go on. Yeah. Then I'll answer it
How did you
together.
come into contact with this system, and did you spend any time in it?
Yeah. So luckily not. I mean that happened, and because I was an engineer and consequently an H-1B worker myself. I
You were
was.
at Urbana-Champaign.
Yeah, I went to UIUC, University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. From 2008 to 2010, I graduated as an electrical engineer from there, and then I worked for a power electronics firm for 2 years, 2.5 years, as an H-1B worker in Colorado from 2011 to 2013. And that's where, I mean, as a foreign worker and as an H-1B worker, and I was a direct H-1B, which is to say that like my company sponsored my visa, and that was it. No intermediaries and no middle vendors or anything else. So So as my experience as an international student and as an H-1B worker gave me this gave me a ringside view into the world of Desi consultancies, and I saw my friends going through it. I knew a lot of friendly acquaintances who were going through it, and it was so that's how I first found out about it. And it had kind of, it just stayed with me, this idea stayed with me, and then I returned to India to become a writer. That's a separate thing, but then so I thought like I'll start working on it and all of that. Now coming to something equally crucial that you asked was, absolutely, I mean, this whole thing of India or India's institutions just not being able to forget protect or forget. I mean, all of this that is happening right now on the streets. The way our streets are burning, the reasons why they are. The whole H-1B scam, it kind of acts as a metaphor, kind of acts as like almost as a prescient. I mean, symbol. Of what's been happening in our country for the last 20-25 years. At one level, we like to say that, oh, we are a country of engineers. I was an engineer myself. I know, like, the amount of prestige, social value, almost, I mean, so I come from Bihar. We have like this great word that we trip on, which is called sanskar. Like, so it's almost like if you became an engineer or a doctor or a bureaucrat, you have good values. It's education was also a moral project for us, right? So but then that was not really reflected in the materiality of engineering education. At least, I mean, where are the good colleges in the country, barring a handful? In fact, like, so many colleges have terrible infrastructure, they have terrible levels of employability. We are talking about like civil engineers, electrical engineers being employable at a rate of 6%, 7%, 8%, and then it kind of becomes that, like, okay, India essentially seems to be telling you in the engineering realm that, like, okay, I mean, if you are an IITian or if you graduate from, say, BITS or any of these elite engineering colleges, which are a handful, that's great. But if not, you will be thrown on the street, and then there will be all kinds of sordid players. Something I said about like opening yourself up to vulnerability and abuse and exploitation, and that's something that really broke my heart while I was working on the book. That, like, what if an engineering graduate doesn't get a good GPA or is not a good, like, has a mental aptitude for, say, technical knowledge and all of that? Do they deserve this kind of exploitation? Do they deserve, like, subhuman treatment? And it's almost, and that exodus, it's actually hilarious. Okay, so because it was true in my case as well. So I couldn't crack IIT as much as I tried, or couldn't get into any big engineering college, and it was very heartbreaking for me. And I thought, okay, what option do I have? And honestly, the options were very little, and I'm talking about 2006. And so then, I mean, of course, I was privileged, so I could go to the US and I could kind of, like, make some kind of a life for myself. But that should not be the option for people in most cases. And even if there is, I mean, the situation back home or our relationship with home itself is so bad that people keep enduring that exploitation. I mean, they kind of accept, quote unquote, slavery in the US as opposed to freedom in India. Yesterday itself, actually, one kid, I don't know if you saw that video. I saw it on Twitter today. Like, I think this kid from, I'm forgetting the college actually, but he just said that he just wants to flee India. That he just enumerated, just unfurled like a big list of grievances as to why should I stay in the country. And I really nodded, but I also, like, my heart went out, because now, with the rampage of, like, right wing regimes across the world, with all kinds of scrutiny into, like, immigration and all of that, that kind of an option also doesn't exist. And that option anyway did not exist for a lot of kids. I mean, like, apart from, like, say, a privileged section of a society. So, I mean, but even people who can go are subjected to the levels of exploitation. That's absolutely horrific, and it's absolutely about, I mean, the way I would like to pitch this book to my friends when I was working was that, like, guys, look, India's unemployment situation has been so bad that Indians have been compelled to not just flee the US but flee the flee the country but not just flee the country, but both like scam the system and get exploited. And one final thing that I'll also say, that like, this kind of like this kind of exploitation, or sorry, not just exploitation, I mean this Indian condition of young people, this molding of Indian mind, as it is, I mean, which is anyway, I mean, really what do I say, it's really beholden to a certain kind of hierarchy, servility, and obviously there is like there's desperation, despair, and all of that. And then they become a part of the system, which I thought was very fascinating. It was almost like at a literary level, that where they're both like victims and also perpetrators, because a lot of them, I mean, I don't feel nice to say, but they see of this as a way to game the system. They see that like, okay, I may get exploited, but well, there is still money to be made on the side, or I could not have done this anything better. Something that I'd said in my book, like in a line, that that a post-liberalized India had like molded the Indian identity by making it really cutthroat and making it really mercenary in a certain sense. Then this whole phenomenon of fake resumes really is very interesting, because then the whole question of identity is becoming literal here, that you can only succeed as an Indian in this world by not being yourself. So a bunch of other things, right? Of course, like hashtag not all Indians, but so yeah, it really like for me the systemic abuse of the H-1B program was not just about like an economic problem, but I thought it was a deeply moral problem, not just for Indians, but well, India itself, I would say.
I have one last question. Did you fictionalize your account to protect the guilty, or protect the innocent, or protect yourself, or all of the
No,
above?
no, absolutely not.
How
So my main aim was in this book actually. So it kind of began as I'm a little embarrassed to admit. It did not begin as like this whole thing into the H-1B program and all of that. It kind of began as a literary project. I wanted to write like quote unquote like a non-fiction novel. I'm a big fan of Catherine Boo, Adrian Nicole LeBlanc, Gay Talese, all these people. How do you capture like literature as non-fiction? That sounds terribly pretentious, but something of on those lines. So then I wanted to write like a non-fiction book where I would use the techniques of a novel. I'll use novelistic techniques, but not change not make anything up. Basically, like all the dialogues in the book are real. All the plot points, the plot twists, and all of that. Where I did change was that some people, like some of my like all the protagonists, they told me that for some individuals or some companies, they told me to change their names because they just feared massive retaliation. But they also volunteered proof that this really happened. But then everything else in my in my own investigation and research uses real names. It uses real data and all of that, and so much so that I wanted to use or write the book in as active a voice as possible, because I didn't want to write like mistakes were made or things like that. I wanted to literally name the perpetrators, because that's again something, and I'm deeply indebted to my publishing house for this, my publisher and my editor, that very few books, and it may sound like a little braggy, but that's not the intent, that very few books are these days about like corporate crimes, because I mean situation is like that. So but then there were so many parties here, but yeah, I didn't want to change anything, because that I wanted people to know who are the parties who are actually guilty and what they've been.
Tanul, thanks so much for your time. Wonderful talking to you. And the book is really a great read, and it's an eye opener for people who have not come in contact with this awful system. So thank you very much, and all the best for the book and for your next book. Look forward.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure and an honor. Just really happy that you resonated with the book and the way it is. Thank you so much.